Great to have you with us. Now, in our first story, some students of the University of Ghana say, although the institution is working to nip the issue of sexual harassment in the bud, more has to be done to encourage reporting of such cases. They want authorities of the tertiary institution to go beyond policies and take some concrete action. JoyNews' Maxwell Agbagba joined the university's debate society Monday evening after the premiere of the BBC's Africa Eye documentary, Sex for Grades. Here are their thoughts.
The chances of these acts coming down is really high because
the members of the University of Ghana Debate Society have just finished watching the Sex for Grades expose, which implicated two of their lecturers. It is their regular Monday meeting. The discussions have started here after they watched the expose on the projector screen here. I've met level 100 student Priscilla Owusu. She says female students in various tertiary institutions find it difficult to report issues of sexual harassment.
Prior to coming to the University of Ghana, I have heard of certain cases and several cases of ladies coming on social media to speak on their issues when it comes to situations like this. And it's very difficult to report because they believe that Ghana has a system of protecting the elderly. So if there is any sort of issue against the older person always wins. So it's very difficult.
Level 400 student at Danso says most female students are unable to speak about harassment because the Ghanaian society continues to shame victims instead of perpetrators.
Since that the perpetrators are the ones who ought to feel shame, not the ones who've been abused. And we live in a system where we are constantly shaming victims and they are not able to come out because anytime they come out, we always have useless questions or questions that don't make sense, that discredits what they actually have to say, what she was wearing, whether or not she was seducing the lecturer, where she was at that time. Those are irrelevant questions because I think that we should stop asking these questions that don't matter because at the end of the day, what we do is we continue to apologize for perpetrators and not really protect victims.
Level 400 student Jeremiah Sechi wants the University of Ghana to do more to eradicate sexual harassment.
The university has to do more than just posting stickers of zero tolerance for sexual harassment. There needs to be serious discussions and re-evaluation of our social definition. We have UGRCs to teach critical thinking and academic writing, but we still have the pervasive problem of sexual misconduct, and I think that something could be done about that by incorporating some level of education into our curriculum.
President of the Legon chapter of the University Teachers Association of Ghana, Samuel Nkumban, has been talking about the position of UTAC on the matter.
We are of the view that if evidence is established against people who have committed or who have flouted the laws governing how we ought to operate, then of course the law has to take its course.
One of the lecturers implicated in the expose, Ransford Jampo, has described the publication as defamatory.
My lawyers had prepared my suit even long before they aired. We saw the documentary, and so tomorrow morning we'll sue them. Go to court, we'll sue them, and let them know that the BBC of yesteryears is not the BBC today. The BBC of yesteryears that was independent and would look into matters from all angles is now the BBC of a few people who are paid by some politicians who do not like people who are independent-minded.
Now, the University of Ghana leadership seems to be responding to these students. Dr. Margaret Amwako-Hene chairs the Anti-Sexual Harassment Committee of the university, and she is encouraging them to come forward with their stories.
Our students have support if they are in any kind of danger. And one of the places that I didn't mention earlier, they can talk to their tutors because every student has a tutor. They can talk to their hall senior tutors, their hall masters. So assuming the senior tutor is the one who's harassing you, you go to the department side, you have a head of department, you have a dean, you have a provost. So talk to somebody. There's always somebody to talk to. Okay. They don't need to suffer in silence. Okay. And the university is up to the task of weeding out undesirable elements and to be sure that students, staff study and they work in a very congenial atmosphere that gives them respect and dignity, recognizes that they have come there as human beings and not as sex objects for anybody to use.
Now, following the revelation in the Sex for Grades documentary video released by BBC Africa Eye, the University of Lagos, UNILAG, has shut down the cold room where lecturers allegedly sexually assaulted students. The development was announced on Monday by the Principal Assistant Registrar Communications Unit of the university, Taiwo Oloyede. The cold room was mentioned by a lecturer of the school, Boniface Igbenehu, in a documentary filmed discreetly by the BBC. In the documentary, Igbenehu described the room as a place where lecturers meet to touch students' breasts, in quote, at the staff club of the university. According to him, quote, nothing good comes free, unquote, and the cold room experience is the price some female students have to pay to have good grades. Meanwhile, just hours after the release of the documentary, the school's pro-vice chancellor, Dr. Wale Babalakin, announced the suspension of Mr. Igbeneku over allegations of sexual assault disclosed in the documentary. Now, the first chairman of the Anti-Sexual Harassment Committee of the University of Ghana, Professor Langbong Bimi, has been explaining to JoyNews what constitutes sexual harassment. He spoke earlier on News Desk.
We are now broadening the net to catch most of the people that fall short of acts of sexual harassment and misconduct. So in actual fact, in the policy, there's an anti-sexual harassment committee which is mandated by the policy to implement all what is in it. And we have the constitution, the membership, and all facets of the university are represented. At orientation, there's somebody from the anti-sexual harassment committee to talk about this policy. There's some all newly recruited lecturers. UTAC usually creates a forum, and now I've been the resource person for that forum for the past 4 or 5 years. And the new recruited lecturers are told about the policy, they are told about the do's and don'ts, and they are even given copies and told where to find it on the University of Ghana webpage. So examples of sexual harassment are meted out. The definition of sexual harassment is given. And just to put it in perspective, any form of let's say, any form of ventures of sexual nature to somebody which are unwelcome. The cardinal point is unwelcome. And it doesn't have to be verbal. It can be by the person's facial expression, or you can be told no, straight in the face. And this time it's not, for example, a lady's no doesn't have to be 3 times before it's no. The first time the person says no is no. So sexual harassment can be defined as unwelcome conduct of a sexual nature, including unwelcome sexual advances, unwelcome sexual requests, or requests for sexual favors, and other verbal, non-verbal, written, electronic, text messages, for example, graphic or physical contact, touching, grouping, and other behavior of sexual nature that are unwelcome.
Meanwhile, a clinical psychologist, Adolf Ewuku-Bequin, says it is difficult for victims of sexual harassment to sit in the lectures of their abusers. Speaking on News Desk a while ago, he rather wants more work to be done in getting the victims to speak up.
Doesn't feel safe at all, because when one is harassed, there are many consequences to that. I mean, physically, emotionally, you don't feel safe. You feel very invaded, okay? And so, for instance, if it is persistent, coming to class to face the one who is harassing you would definitely result in restlessness. You will lose concentration. You will feel scared for your life. And the very thing you went to school to do, you cannot focus on, to study. And if, for instance, you report this case and it is not even taken seriously, it is even worse. Okay, so there are many issues that somebody who is being harassed, a harassee for that matter, will be going through. Being a lecturer comes with responsibility. You are in a powerful position. So the lecturer-student relationship is a relationship of power. Okay, and you are to exercise that power judiciously, not to use it against the one you have power over. No. So It is not really because you wore a skimpy skirt or a dress showing your cleavages. That cannot be a basis for one to abuse you. So that narrative, that trope must not be believed at all. When there is a reported case of sexual harassment, how we go about it? Okay, procedurally, are we giving justice to these victims of harassment? Then it will encourage them. If they see that we are really paying attention, we are being sensitive, we are empowering them, then it encourages them and others in a similar situation. But if where you report, I mean, how it is handled rather disempowers you, then many will not be encouraged to do that.
Yes.
So we need to frontally engage this culture that really objectifies and commodifies women. That is not how to go about it. And I think the responsibility is on all of us. It is really a serious issue.
Away from sexual harassment, it's been 3 days of no movement. Vehicles and commuters have been left stranded at the Dambai ferry landing site. The ferry serving thousands of commuters in the area has been broken down since Sunday. We are learning that the situation is causing agitation among the commuters. Now, other boat owners are taking advantage of this situation. Now, let's cross over to our correspondent for the OT region, Peter Senu, for more details. Peter, describe for us the situation as you see it.
Hi, Daniel.
Hi, Peter. Describe for us the situation as you see it.
Okay, vehicles are basically stranded at both ends of the Oti River, the Dambai end and the Krachi end of the Oti River. And so those who could not wait are using the boats to cross to the other side. But the cargoes would have to use the ferry to cross from one end to the other. We understand this started last Sunday. It's been on and off. And passengers have been expressing their displeasure about all that has been happening at this landing site. And so we've been speaking to some of them, and then we can now listen to them.
The first time, the boat is not like this. It was very fast with us. So now the machine has spoiled. We know that it has spoiled. So the government will try to give us another one or change this one for us so that they can be going fast for us, because the road is a business road. Please.
But you say it is not fast. That doesn't move faster than this one.
Yes, formally, it's a move fast than this one.
Well, so those are some commuters there. Peter Senu is still on the line with us. Peter, tell us how important this ferry is to the people of Dambai, Krachi, and its environs.
All right, Daniel, this ferry, the role this ferry is playing in the Oti region is very important. We cannot underplay this. This ferry is linking the Dambai, the regional capital, to the northern part of the country. And because I think the pressure on it now, because the road leading from Pasa to Nkwanta very bad, most vehicles who would hitherto have used the other end are diverting their route to this place. And so a minute or an hour of inactivity brings everything to its knees, business activities to a halt. You know, when we came here earlier, and so market women have complained, those taking fish and then other perishables to Accra that would have to be sold within the next day, you know, fresh fish, most of them would have gone bad, even smoked ones. And so they are not pretty happy with the situation. They want either another boat, another ferry comes here to speed up activities, you know, moving, conveying both passengers and then cargo from one end to the other.
Right. So, Peter, when was the last time that ferry was renovated?
Pardon me?
When was the last time that ferry was renovated, and how long has it been there?
Well, we can speak that the ferry has been running on one engine for some time now. That one is on record. But engineers wouldn't go on record to confirm that. But that is what I get from the ground. And so it's been their own tweaking up and down to get the ferry to work.
I'm asking how long it's been running there. Like, has it been years? Has it been months? Is it a new ferry?
No. This is the ferry that was used when the Adomi Bridge was being renovated, and so it was moved from that end to this place. So it's been here for well over 2 or 3 years now.
Okay, so on the 3rd of February 2017, during his vetting, the Transport Minister designate stated that Dambai will get a new ferry. Have you heard anything about that? Have the residents of the area seen any indication of this since 3rd February 2017?
Hello?
Yeah, you're on it.
Yeah, there has not been any new ferry as we speak. It is the old one that the people are managing, the engineers, and then the Voltali company are managing here.
Thank you very much, Peter Senu, for joining us. We stay on the subject of transportation because management of the Kumasi City Market has opened a new KJTR lorry terminal to become fully operational on Tuesday. Transport operators of all 24 unions in Ashanti region have endorsed demarcation of the facility for their use. The new terminal will serve only as a loading point for vehicles of over 60 routes, with a holding earmarked at the Kumasi race course. Chairman of the Transport Operators Relocation Committee, Nana Nimako Bresiama II, asked the drivers to adhere to new regulations and management of the terminal. Prince Apia has more.
More than 60 destinations have been allocated places at the new KJTR terminal. The Transport Operators Relocation Committee explains it wants to prevent congestion at the market. Committee Chairman Nana Nimako Bresiama II addressed the media on the new development.
We wish to take this opportunity to inform all commercial transport operators and the general public that the new KJTR transport terminal is officially open. The new KJTR transport terminal is only a loading point for drivers, while a holding area has been arranged at the Kumasi race course. The new arrangement is that all vehicles that come into the central business district will have to offload their passengers at the new KJTR terminal, drop off lane C. After this, all vehicles are expected to move to the race course, which has been designated as holding area. Only those that have their turns to load will be called from the race course to come into the terminal and load at their respective slots.
Nana Bresiama II wants drivers to adhere to the new arrangement and observe the regulations.
We urge all drivers who will be using the terminal to address all their complaints to the Committee for Transport. We wish to also advise drivers to respect management of the terminal and observe regulations agreed upon. In addition, the general public is also to note that not all the destinations were allocated slots at the new terminal.
Consultant for the Kumasi City Market, Emmanuel Danso, advises drivers to pay attention to proper maintenance of the facility.
So my advice is that we have to keep this place clean, safe for future generations also to use it. Previously, KJTR, that was what was happening. They were having only one line, but somebody will park early and then try to change the oil and other stuff, for which is not proper. So drop off and move to race course and do all your maintenance. When it's your turn, you come around and load. KJTR traders are ready to move in. They are taking their keys now.
After the transport operators take their place at the new market, traders are expected to also start working in the new market. Prince Apia reporting.
From transportation to law, and the Defense and Interior Committee of Parliament has described as unacceptable the police use of force on demonstrating law students yesterday. The students took to the streets yesterday to protest the mass failure of applicants to the Ghana Law School. Their quest to present a petition to the presidency for reforms was met with police brutality, with some sustaining injuries. Leaders of the demonstrating students who were arrested were later freed, but Vice Chairman of the Defense and Interior Committee, Collins Owusu-Amankwa, wants the Inspector General to answer for the action of his men.
condemn it, on certain terms. In that, why such brutalities on armless and harmless demonstrators, only to petition appropriate authorities, even if they miss their way out. I think there should be a professional way of managing them than to pour hot water on them. For me, it was barbaric, unprofessional, and we should all condemn it. We shouldn't entertain a situation where people would view police, which is the main enforcement agency, as an agent of government to suppress the masses. Now will call for a full probe.
Now, the Ghana Police Service has justified the use of what it calls reasonable force to disperse agitating law students who protested to demand reforms in the legal education system. In a statement released Monday, the police said the students failed to follow the laid down rules. Meanwhile, former President Mahama has been speaking on the matter. He is backing calls by the aggrieved law students for reforms in the country's legal education system. John Mahama spoke when leadership of the Ghana Bar Association paid a courtesy call on him.
Aside from that, the other issue I wanted to raise is to do with the current vexed issue of lawyers, intake of lawyers, and I'm sure that you are well apprised of the matter. It is a matter that affects thousands of students, and I think that by extension their families are concerned, because a lot of investment have gone into these students to get this far. And if there's a social block, if there's a block, in terms of extending their careers, in terms of where they feel they want to work, then it becomes a major issue. I believe that Ghana is not the first to face this kind of situation. I'm sure if we look around the world, there will be countries that have come to this same, stage. And we need to look at best practice. How did they resolve it? If you look at the demand for legal services, it is there from the analysis I made. I mean, the rural areas, there are no lawyers working. You go to certain parts of this country, and there are 2-3 lawyers, active lawyers, in a whole region, And so how do we expand, legal education without compromising quality? That is important. Let's not say that because we want more lawyers, we're going to do a mass production of lawyers, and then based on that compromise the quality of the legal representation that people have a right to have access to. And so I think that that is an issue that should engage us, and I thought that I would raise it as part of the discussion that we have, and see how the Bar Association can make its voice heard, looking at what best practice is across the world, so that we can give opportunities for those who have the potential and the capacity, to pursue a legal education and work in their chosen careers without compromising the quality of our legal education. So these are the two main issues I said I would use to introduce our discussion today. But then there are several other issues that we'll take up. And so I'll yield the floor for now to our General Secretary.
Away from that issue, President Akufo-Addo says critics of free SHS should not only acknowledge that the free SHS has been done, but that it's a good thing. The president, who was addressing students and teachers in Sunyani as part of his 2-day tour of the Bono region, advised students, especially beneficiaries of the free SHS, to focus on their education, urging them to prepare and excel in their final examination.
You are here as students. It cannot be all books. The books is the key, but you have to have an opportunity also to broaden your mind, to do things outside the classroom that will broaden your mind and will give you exposure and an opening of your consciousness. We want well-rounded citizens to animate the future of our country. But most important of all, the example that you're going to set will be next June. when you will be the first senior secondary students to take the senior high school exam. There are people who want to see you stumble, who want to see you fail, so they can turn around and say, we told you so. So you have a challenge, and the challenge which I know you are going to meet successfully is that we have excellent results from the first lot of senior high school students, so that we can shame all the skeptics and the naysayers and the unbelievers and tell them that Ghanaian youth are ready for the challenge of the 21st century.
Now, the chiefs and people of the Ewutu Senya West area are to benefit from the construction of a landing beach site as part of government's overall objective of improving the standards of living in the coastal areas and the fishing industry. Speaking at a gathering of the chiefs and people to mark the beginning of the construction, Member of Parliament for Ewutu Senya West, George Anda, said the 15-month project will not only be a game changer for the fishing community, but also a major source of employment for the people and in and around the community.
One of the major concerns of the constituents had been a desire to have a landing beach site. This desire has been lurking ever since we started campaigning. Today, it has become a reality. I believe you have all seen the project site with engineers already working. Carpenters, masons, steel benders and all other artisans required will be chosen from the community. We will not go and employ people elsewhere, but you, the senior people.
Steel benders, see, I'm on in the world, but senior man, senior fun, the Wabaye Juma was senior project 15 months.
In just 15 months, the project will be completed with facilities such as day nursery and kindergarten, fish markets, cold store, waste processing and waste management units.
New waste management unit.
Still live on JoyNews today with me, Daniel. Up next in business, airline operators in Ghana asked to present alternative solutions as fuel and other charges raise cost of operations.
And they think the charges that should not be there. We've asked for them to give us papers.
More when we come back. Stay with us.